So yesterday I was supporting a client who wanted to focus our session more so on the emotions and things she was feeling around her business. However, she has gone through something very traumatic where she has lost 2 loved ones within a span of a couple of days. And so when that happens, what happens is your body is activated, your nervous system is dysregulated. And so oftentimes what I've seen my clients is you actually are going into what we refer to as like freeze, where you kind of like numb. You're not fighting, you're not fleeing, but it's more like almost like this numbness where your emotions are almost like frozen and you're not allowing yourself to really feel that, or you're so accustomed. And this is definitely a survival mechanism, is that your response to grieve, especially loss, because you've experienced that so much in your lifetime that you actually become numb to it. Right? Which is very common. What I would absolutely recommend for those of you who've experienced something similar, or who have a friend, a family member who is experiencing something similar, is to try this exercise. So if you're familiar with EFT, which is the practice that I use with my clients, it's emotional freedom technique. And don't let the name fool you. Sometimes we think emotional freedom technique, and especially we want to be sensitive, especially when someone is grieving, because oftentimes they tie that emotion. If I'm free of that emotion, then I'm not honoring that person's life, right? Or like their passing. Instead, it's okay. Seeing emotional freedom technique is more so like clearing your own emotions around that, so that way it gets you to a neutral space. So neutral is very different from numb. Neutral helps take you from more of like that lower frequency state. And what I'll do is I'll actually, for those of you who are following me in stories, I'll actually post it on there, so that way you can have a visual of the different frequencies that we feel within our emotions. And so when we're doing EFT, first, we help you get to that neutral state, and then it can be like of a higher frequency, right? And so of course there's different stages of death. So you want to make sure that you process, you go through the different stages, and then you allow yourself to actually feel it and process it. So a practice I highly recommend, again, emotional freedom technique. Every morning, I would do at least about 5 to 10 minutes. What I encourage you to not do, so I teach a method that is through my teacher, and what I'm certified in is the Dream Awake method. Oftentimes we go in very deep, especially, and it may be triggering. What I recommend for my clients is instead, it's like, let's just help you get to neutral, help you get to baseline first. And so we're just going to do a couple of rounds of EFT just to help you feel neutral. And you're going to feel that within your body when you're at neutral, and wherever you feel that, right? Part of it is also feeling it. So I always ask them, like, where do you feel that within your body? You're going to rate it in the beginning, figure where you're at. So if you're like a 10, I want you to kind of see if you can get yourself down to like a 7 and then a 5 or 6. It may take a couple of rounds, but even doing 5-10 minutes in the morning. So a couple of questions that's really going to be helpful for you is, how am I feeling truly, right? This is just going to help you get really honest. And you can even start like, the tap that way, even though I'm feeling, I'm feeling devastated. Love and accept myself exactly as I am. Like, deep breath in, release, and let go. And what we're doing is, as we're breathing, is actually helping to calm our nervous system. So remember, we're breathing through it. We're bringing love and acceptance and healing to it. So when you're tapping to help release some of that, just know that you're still honoring that person. You're not going to, when we think about the emotional freedom technique, we're not going to free ourselves from our entanglement with them. If you're familiar with quantum physics at all, anytime you have a contact, so when you protons, when you connect with another soul, there's like this concept of entanglement. You're with them forever. So please know that they're still a part of you. For those of you who are not familiar with quantum physics, I actually have a video on my YouTube channel. And that very first video that talks about manifestation is kind of like diving into like the science, because I really like to get kind of like sciencey and nerdy around like kind of like quantum physics, how that works. With manifestation, And so entanglements, that piece of it is, and as you understand that consciously, you recognize that by you doing EFT, it's more just helping to regulate your nervous system, and that and it also helps you feel almost like more in tune with that person, and you're honoring them as well. And so I hope this was helpful for you. So again, every day, especially first thing in the morning, when you're going through the grieving process, how am I feeling? What are some of the thoughts? Again, you don't want to go down like a negative spiral. I highly recommend that you work with a certified EFT practitioner. I would love to support you. You're welcome to slide into my DMs. If you know someone else who's a certified EFT practitioner and they're more your vibe, totally okay. I just hope that this supports you, and you can definitely have them lead and guide you as well. But regardless, I highly recommend you do that daily. And then if you want additional support, definitely doing like a weekly session, because it has to do with grief. It is definitely emotion, right? Everything, of course, when we're dealing with EFT, it is highly triggering. Make sure that you try to schedule it on a day where you do have some bandwidth, some freedom to kind of like rest the rest of the day, because you're going to probably need that, a lot of self-care. And so it could be either you're doing it in afternoon, on days when you're not like chauffeuring, as I like to say, the kids everywhere. And then also, perhaps on a day when it's like the end of the week, end of a work day. And so, and this could be any type of grief. So for those of you who are not perhaps experiencing like physical loss, but perhaps the ending of a relationship, especially when you're in a process of a divorce, there's like grieving that life, grieving that relationship, those elements you can definitely use EFT for as well. So I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions. I actually was trying to see if I can make this video shorter, but I recognize that with things like grief, I really want to talk you through it, honor and help you through that process, help you understand what's happening within your body, because oftentimes we have the things that are happening within our conscious mind, and we're like, oh, I'm going to focus on this. And I know, especially for those of you, I track a lot of high achievers, you dive yourself into work and you compartmentalize, and it's so easy to do that. What happens is your system is so dysregulated, and then we suppress, and then 5-10 years down the road, you're like, oh my goodness, why am I feeling this way? And then all this, and it comes back to never working on this type of inner work. And so I hope this served you, and I will catch you next time, friends. Sending you lots of love.